and welcome. Tonight, President Bola Tinubu holds bilateral discussions with the Prime Minister of St. Kitts and Nevis, Terrace Michael Drew, who paid him a courtesy visit. President Bola Tinubu approves 10 billion naira as food sufficiency grants to 10 universities. Enterprise Nigeria Professional Advocacy Groups holds its quarterly members' night in Lagos. And at least 1,000 people have been killed and more than 2,000 others injured after a 7.7 magnitude earthquake struck Myanmar. On sports news tonight, Eberechi Eze inspired Crystal Palace to a 3-0 FA Cup quarter-final victory over Fulham at Craven College, scoring a goal and providing an assist in the 4-minute period in the first half.
And on business news, President Tinubu signs new legislation to boost operations in Nigeria's capital market.
It's the president's special day, but the nation's development appears to be top on his agenda as he held bilateral discussions with the Prime Minister of St. Kitts and Nevis, Terrace Michael Drew, who was on a courtesy visit to the State House in Abuja. Speaking after the meeting, President Tinubu said it was an opportunity to strengthen the relationship between the two nations, while the Prime Minister touched on the drive to deepen economic ties for the benefit of both parties.
Very great opportunity for Africa to, connect widely, and Nigeria in particular, to strengthen bilateral relations and examine and exploit all the economic opportunities that is available to all so that I can achieve more for ourselves.
I came here from St. Kitts and Nevis, the CARICOM, the Caribbean, and we are seeking to establish greater ties between the Caribbean and our African brothers and sisters, as we call it, the motherland. And so we have been doing a number of things, and so I wanted to come here. And this time I came on an investment summit, trying to inspire our people here to come to the Caribbean to invest so that we can, of course, work together closer as a region, as two regions, but really we are all connected by blood.
Specifically, which areas are you looking at to invest in or to cooperate with Nigeria?
Right. So I'm looking at the area of agriculture and food security. And as Mr. President said, food sovereignty is quite important. And so we have contacted a number of firms here in Nigeria to consider coming to St. Kitts and Nevis or the wider Caribbean. We are looking at energy as well as logistics and transport and trade. And so we have discussed a number of other areas, areas of education and so forth. But there are areas within those ones that I just mentioned that we are seeking at this particular time.
Thank you so much, Excellent.
Staying in the nation's capital at an event to mark the president's birthday, the secretary to the government of the Federation, Senator George Akume, said the federal government's policies are yielding the desired results. He listed the establishment of more federal universities, student loan scheme, and improvement in the manufacturing and agricultural sectors as some of the latest interventions by the government for the people.
Government officials, members of the international community, family and friends are here in the Methodist Cathedral of Unity in the Federal Capital Territory for a Thanksgiving service in honor of President Bola Tinubu, who is marking his 73rd birthday. The service is marked with prayers, dancing and praises to God for the exemplary life of the president and his legacies and reforms for the nation's socio-economic development.
Today, we celebrate a great leader. We celebrate a detribalized Nigeria. We celebrate somebody that has the love of this nation at heart. And all he's doing is to get Nigeria out of the woods, and Nigeria will be out of the woods. Our restoration will be total in the mighty name of Jesus.
One friend told me, he said, look, people are complaining. And I asked him, I said, have you ever heard of any budget, trillion before? He said, no. I said, in the last 2 years before the last, he said, no, they were complaining about billions, but now they are hearing trillions. I said, this is the first time somebody is doing a budget and releasing trillions to Nigeria. What is wrong? And he said, it is possible. Some devils are blocking this thing from reaching the common man. So I asked him, then what will be your prayer? He said, in that case, I will go back and pray so that God will remove the hurdles.
Done with the speeches, dignitaries at the event step out for a Thanksgiving session. This is then followed by a prayer session for the president and all those in authority as they steer the affairs of the nation.
It is well with our nation. It is well with every local government. It is well with every state. It is well with our nation.
Outside the church, the secretary to the government of the Federation speaks of the policies of the government and its impact on the people.
More universities are being established, and not only that, equipped. We're talking about expansion of digital economy and artificial intelligence. And that's where the world is moving. We're talking about health, more restes of health. We're talking about student loans. We're talking about virtually everything you could think about. We're talking about improvement in agriculture.
He insists that the government will do more to deliver on the promises for the country's development.
More prayers for the president, this time by some members of the Lagos State Executive Council, led by the Deputy Governor, Kadri Hamzat, who converge on the Community Central Mosque, Alausa, Ikeja. The prayer session was held for President Bola Tinubu for long life, strength, and wisdom to rule the country. Speaking after the ceremony, the Deputy Governor appealed to citizens to exercise patience with the President in order to enjoy the benefits of his economic policies.
We are celebrating his birthday, and by the will of Allah, is the President of the country today. So, to your question, he's a man that God has given talent. Like the Imam said there, he said you can have a degree, but they don't teach wisdom in school. So it's at the pleasure of Almighty Allah. So it's Allah's pleasure to have given him wisdom. So he's a thinker, and it's a man that is determined, that sees good things and he wants to achieve it. So, as for his policies, it's always very tough when you make some decisions, because it will get tough because it gets better. And that's the issue, for example, with fuel subsidy. It was tough initially, but we can see now. People are saying that at different stations, people are selling at different prices. And that's the essence of competition. Prices seems to be coming down. And that's it. So, and the sources for government has increased in order to do various infrastructure. So it used to be that the subsidy money is more than the budget of Federal Ministry of Works, Health and Education combined. It cannot work. And then we complain that things are not working. It will not work given that system. So he's trying to change that system to make sure that we are able to fund the essence of government, which is educate our children, build infrastructures, clean up the environment, and stuff like that. So we just need to pray for him, for good health, and hope that all these processes will be allowed to work. So I think my plea is for Nigerians to be patient, to also see that he's not a magician, and nobody is. Policies take time to work, but we must push it. We must not disparage it. We must not, sort of sabotage it. And that's the essence of what we are saying. And that people should give it a chance, let the policy work, and at the end of the day, Nigeria will be better for us.
So the stories now. The Tertiary Education Trust Fund, TED Fund, has announced plans to establish 18 new innovation hubs across institutions in order to strengthen research and innovation. Speaking at the closing ceremony of the 30th cohort of Research for Impact initiative in Abuja, the Executive Secretary of TED Fund, Mr. Sonny Echono, says the initiative is part of the fund's commitment to fostering a culture of problem-solving research, entrepreneurship, and technological advancement. The Executive Secretary emphasized the importance of education and research in nation-building and sustainable development as he explains that the R41 program, in collaboration with Innovate Technology Hub, aims to enhance the capacity of researchers and academia to conduct innovative, solution-driven research that addresses societal challenges. For parties in Anambra State prepare for the governorship primary election, a support group within the All Progressives Congress has renewed the call for a transparent exercise. The group has commended the Ward Delegates Congress and called on the party leadership to sustain the momentum in the primary election on April the 5th. At the stakeholders meeting in Oka, the national coordinator of the support group, Mr. Arinzechukwu Awogu, says winning the election must be the focus as the party picks a strong candidate to vie for the governorship seat.
Looking at having a smooth primaries, the process has already started with the World Congress election, and we are believing very strongly that we are stronger together, that by 5th of April we will be going for the primaries, and the primaries will only produce one candidate. And what we are soliciting is that the delegates should be mindful of November 8th election. We need election material. We need somebody who will go for the election and give us victory. And because of that, the primaries of 5th of April should be taken very seriously. And because of that, we are concerned. As members of the Ikemba Front, the flagship political structure of APC in Anambra State, which is the face of APC in Anambra, we are looking at November 8th governorship election. And it isn't going to be a tea party contending with an incumbent. So we must make do with trusted and tested material. And that is what Prince Dr. Nicholas Okachukwu represents.
In part two, after the break, suspended governor of River State, Siminalayi Fubara, refutes allegations made by the former head of service of the state, Dr. George Waike. That's in a moment. Join us again. Welcome back. If you just joined us, you're watching the news at 10 live on Channels Television. A reminder of our top stories. President Bola Tinubu holds bilateral discussions with the Prime Minister of St. Kitts and Nevis, terrorist Michael Drew, who paid him a courtesy visit. The President approves 10 billion naira as food sufficiency grants to 10 universities. Enterprise Nigeria Professional Advocacy Group holds its quarterly members' night in Lagos. And at least 1,000 people have been killed and more than 2,000 others injured after a 7.7 magnitude earthquake struck Myanmar. President Bola Tinubu has approved 10 billion naira as food sufficiency grants to 10 universities, including the Federal University of Agriculture, Makadi, in Benue State. The Executive Secretary of the Tertiary Education Trust Fund, Mr. Sonny Echono, disclosed this in Makadi, the state capital, during the commissioning of projects in the Federal University of Agriculture.
The Federal University of Agriculture, Makodi, is hosting a delegation, including the Executive Secretary of the Tertiary Education Trust Fund, Mr. Sonny Echono. The first stop is the Faculty of Animal Sciences, where Mr. Echono leads the commissioning of the agriculture and biosystems engineering projects. The Vice-Chancellor speaks on the importance of the project as the university prepares for resources verification by the National Universities Commission.
The rate of development lies squarely on the management of the university. So while you are bifurcating, while you're unbundling, commensurately, you need to have commensurate infrastructure, because the world standard is that every program should occupy a commodious building, and that's what we have started doing.
The Minister of Education is represented by the Director, University Education at the Federal Ministry of Education, Mrs. Rekia Iliasu. She commissions the Agricultural Extension and Communication Building of the university. The delegation takes a tour of the facilities. She speaks on the plans of President Bola Tinubu to fix public education.
I think the project I'm seeing are quite impressive, which I could use that to judge the management, that the management is doing well. Because not all management can bring up this type of structures within short time. I think we should give a big applause to the management led by Professor Ntodo. They are doing their best and we are happy with what we are seeing.
The Executive Secretary of TET Fund discloses plans by the President to fund commercial farm projects in tertiary institutions as part of efforts to ensure food security.
Actually, this is a direct and personal initiative of Mr. President. When we met with him, he specifically gave us that mandate that we should begin to prepare our universities to become self-reliant. So they should explore various other avenues of generating revenue rather than depending solely on government budgets or government allocations. And one of the easy ways that he gave us an example is for them that they have, many universities have large parcels of land, and this is a very good example of such.
The Vice-Chancellor of the institution speaks on how the institution plans to address the challenges of intrusion by host communities, which is affecting the commercial farming project of the school.
So not until we're able to regulate the traffic, the movement through this university, we won't be able to do anything commercial. And that is why I went to TET Fund and I told them that to sustain agricultural research here, give us a glass house research laboratory.
He also calls for the construction of perimeter fencing along the 47-kilometer-long university land to curb insecurity, which led to the kidnapping of 3 female students last month.
The suspended governor of Rivers State, Siminalayi Fubara, has refuted allegations made by the former head of service of the state, Dr. George Waike, during a media briefing on Friday, March the 28th. In a statement, he described Mr. Waike's claims as baseless and aimed at misleading the public. He expressed concern over his assertions, especially the claim that he was involved in political discussions to support the Bauchi State Governor Bala Mohammed's alleged 2027 presidential bid. He dismissed the notion that Mr. Waike, as a former head of service, would have been privy to any high-level political meetings, emphasizing that no such meetings took place, contrary to allegations. According to the governor, the whole world was aware when the Bauchi State Governor, as chairman of the People's Democratic Party PDP Governors Forum, visited Rivers State, and there was nothing secret about those visits. He also denounced claims that he orchestrated meetings to encourage attacks on oil pipelines and other national assets in Rivers State. Meanwhile, the immediate past head of service, Dr. Waike, has dismissed claims about being kidnapped or granting a media briefing under duress. This followed an alarm raised by his wife, Florence, who said her husband had done a media briefing under duress. But in a swift reaction, Dr. Waike released a video debunking his wife's pleas. The former head of service in Rivers State could be seen walking in a lobby of what looked like a hotel.
After the press interview at Advantage, I just saw a video of my wife, my friend, where they went to hold her and they fed her with all kind of fallacies. They told her I'd been kidnapped. I want to clear this. I am not kidnapped. I'm in Abuja, where I'm lodging. And they told her that I was kidnapped and she's crying, and they wrote a script for her to say all sorts of things. I want to put this straight. I am the head of service, and I'm on oath. My wife does not know things are happening in my office. I don't discuss anything about office to her. It's only my domestic or social matters that we discuss. So that's still the road for her. It's not and void. So I want to clear the air that I am safe, I'm fine, I'm in Abuja. But tomorrow morning, I intend to go to the security agencies to report myself. So my coming to Abuja was based on the fact that Abuja is where all the headquarters of security agencies are housed. So I came here and I think I'm safe here to make this report here so they can investigate. And I'm saying that I'm on oath. If I allow any of those things, they will take me up. But I'm reporting exactly what I know and nothing but that. And I said everything from my mind. I want to reassure you that everything I said is true.
So the stories now. Enterprise NGR Professional Advocacy Group recently had its quarterly members' night, an initiative designed to engage members and attract new stakeholders in an informal setting. This edition, themed Strengthening Brand Nigeria through Media Collaboration, brought together industry leaders, media executives, and key decision makers to explore partnerships that advance the country's financial and professional services sector.
Captains of Nigeria's financial industry are gathered here for the Enterprise NGR Quarterly Members Night. A night for networking and sharing the vision and progress so far and strengthening the brand Nigeria. As guests settle down, the night begins with a speech from the CEO of Enterprise NGR, Obi Obekwe.
Collective voice of the financial and professional services sector, working to shape policy, drive reform, and position Nigeria as the global hub for investment, innovation, and inclusive growth. How do we do this? Mainly by fostering collaboration between the public and private sectors.
One of the major focal points of the night was the Lagos International Financial Center project, described by members as a game changer for Nigeria's economic transformation.
If you went to Dubai, you will hear about the DIFC. If you go to Casablanca, you will hear about the CIFC. And so, of course, we in Nigeria, with its host Lagos State, for our International Financial Center, have chosen the acronym LIFC. What could then happen when Lagos, Dirty December, becomes a place where all professionals around the world converge on? I'm talking about in their millions, and that can happen. And I mean in their millions. And imagine bankers, accountants, fintech specialists, white, black, young, old, male, female, converging on Lagos because this is where it's happening. And this is the kind of dream and vision that is driving the LIFC concept. It is a hub that promotes the development of both economic and financial system in Nigeria. And we also know that if we are able to establish this, and we're going to do it, what it does is to, in a geometric way, leapfrog the development of Lagos State. For Lagos to be able to compete with global cities. And what do you see? You begin to see, we talk about Jackpot. What do you see? You begin to see Jackpot.
The Lagos International Financial Center is also endorsed by its counterpart in the UK, the City UK, an industry-led body representing UK-based financial and related professional services.
There's a strong support from the federal government for this initiative. And, we often say the private sector looks long-term. They look into the future. And what I'm seeing from the new government is that it's the government that has experience in the private sector. So it's a government that also is looking long-term. And at the moment, we are walking the pathway and paving the pathway that future generations will walk on. And they will remember this pathway, this moment, since November 2023, if I'm correct, when the first decree at the state level was signed for the formation of LIFC.
Apart from the Lagos International Financial Center project, the Enterprise NGR is also championing youth development with their flagship program, the Youth of Enterprise Internship, while also building more partnerships to make Nigeria the financial hub of Africa.
The youth body in Oshimili's South Local Government Area of Delta State has passed a vote of confidence on Governor Sheriff Owerri along with the state and local government chairman as well as all party leaders. The motion was moved and seconded during the formal inauguration of youth representing the 11 wards in the local government area. At the event, which held at Oshimili South Council Secretariat, it had youth commending the governor for running an inclusive government where their voices have been heard.
In Delta State, in Oshimili South, in Delta North Senatorial District, it has been made evident by the leadership of Right Honorable Sheriff Francis Oboriwori, the Executive Governor of Delta State. He is a youth-friendly governor. I'm a youth, and by the grace of God, I'm a commissioner with the Delta State Civil Service Commission, the youngest since the creation of Delta State. So it's evident that it will go a long way in the lives of the youth, and it's an inclusive policy and program for the youth. As you can see inside, every aspect of youth organization and body are part of it.
Still ahead on the news at 10, President Bola Tinubu signs new legislation to boost operations in Nigeria's capital market. That's on Business News. Please stay with us. Welcome back. In a strategic move to address the critical shortage of healthcare professionals in Lagos State, the government has handed over 3 medical infrastructure to contractors for conversion into modern academic facilities. Speaking at the Bagada General Hospital, the State Commissioner for Health, Professor Akin Abayomi, says the expansion of Lagos State University College of Medicine and 2 COVID-19 centers will help scale up admissions within the next 5 years.
The Cardiorenal Center in Bagada General Hospital, which served as COVID isolation center in 2020, is one of the facilities approved by the Lagos State government to be converted into academic offices and tutorial lecture rooms for training medical students. Others include the Lagos State College of Medicine and COVID Isolation Center at Infectious Disease Hospital in Yaba, which will be transformed into large lecture theaters and multidisciplinary laboratories to accommodate the imminent increase in student admissions across critical medical disciplines. The State Commissioner for Health, Professor Akin Abayomi, was at the Bagada General Hospital alongside the Chief Medical Director of LASUTH, Commissioner for Tertiary Education, as well as the Vice Chancellor of Lagos State University, are here for the official handover of the facilities to contractors. They emphasize that the initiative is in response to the severe shortage of human resources for health, exacerbated by outbound migration of medical professionals.
We anticipate, and according to the directives of the Lagos State Executive Council, who have approved a strategy for taking our numbers up from 200 a year to 2,500 a year in the next 5 years. That means that every year we have a target to expand our intake by about 500 and do it gradually and incrementally until we meet that target. It's an elaborate plan, and this is phase 1.
A welcome initiative for those in the education sector towards addressing the human capital deficit in the health sector that will also help secure accreditation from regulatory bodies.
It is clear that in Lagos and Nigeria in general, there is need for us to expand the human capacity in the health sector critically.
Handing over this to the contractor, this building to a contractor, to get us the infrastructural needs for accreditation, and the other ones that you have visited at Yaba, I am very happy because we will be in a good position to, show the accreditation body that yes, we are ready.
The Chief Medical Director of Lagos State University Teaching Hospital, Professor Adetokunbo Fabanwo, describes the project as a long overdue response to Lagos' growing healthcare needs.
This day will mark the beginning of greater things to come in the health sector.
The state government says the medical infrastructure project will provide 1,600 additional lecture theatre seats, 1,600 laboratory spaces, and 110 new office spaces for lecturers and academic staff, which will help achieve academic excellence.
Rapid population growth, climate change, poor infrastructure, and weak governance structures that impact the performance of public water systems have been identified as some of the factors affecting the lack of potable water in Nigeria and across Africa. Civil society organization Corporate Accountability and Public Participation Africa is drawing the attention of the federal, state governments and the private sector to its new report titled Big Debt, Big Thirst, a case study of the World Bank-supported projects in Ekiti, Rivers and Bauchi State. The organization's executive director, Mr. Akimbode Oluwafemi, says its report, which examines implications of privatization reforms advocated by international financial institutions, especially the World Bank, revealed a disturbing pattern of systematic failures that continue to compromise water access for millions of Nigerians.
Let's take Ekiti State, for instance, where subnational investments were made in critical infrastructure like the Ero and Ureje dams under the NUWXRP3. Residents in such areas as Iworoko and Olonshogo Zone AC, A-C Zone 2 and Zone 4, who paid significant amounts between 5,000 to 50,000 naira to obtain prepaid meters and piped connections to central water points in Ekiti, the state capital, continue to suffer water deprivation. When engaged, many community members nostalgically referenced the 1990s as the last period when they had consistent access to potable water. Ironically, that was a time when water utilities were publicly managed. People will always reference Jakonde era in Lagos for water supply. And again, that time water was being publicly managed. Similarly, in Bauchi State, the loan injection aimed at infrastructural upgrades and the corporatization of the State Water Board has failed to resolve chronic water scarcity, primarily due to persistent electricity shortages. This situation reinforces our long-held conviction that the privatization of essential utilities, often heralded as a panacea for public sector inefficiency, frequently prove anything but infallible.
The Gombe state government says its efforts to provide uninterrupted electricity to the Muhammadu Buhari Industrial Park is more than 80% completed, while on a tour to assess the progress of work at the Dandikowa power plant as well as the industrial park, the State Commissioner for Industry, Trade and Tourism revealed how the government is boosting investors' confidence with the provision of steady power supply and a conducive atmosphere.
Lack of steady energy has been the bane of growth for small, medium and large enterprises in Nigeria, accounting for over $29 billion in losses every year. That's according to available reports. And so, Governor Inuwa Yahaya shares ambitious goals of an industrial park fitted with all the trappings of modernization to solve myriads of challenges faced by manufacturers in line with his administration's industrialization drive.
We decided to embark on the industrial park, Muhammadu Buhari Industrial Park, which is a 1,000-hectare facility and has so far cost us about 20 billion, and we are now going to use it as part of the special agri-processing zone, knowing that our farmers and herders, need to have at least a value addition in what they have before we sell it with a better price and get more gain.
Guided by the desire to create a one-stop businesses ecosystem for existing and prospective companies at the multi-billion naira ultra-modern Muhammadu Buhari Industrial Park, the Inuwa Yahaya-led government stresses that it is putting its money where its mouth is as works to bring dedicated power to the park nears completion.
So we are taking advantage of the power plant we have here, the Light Core Power Plant, which produces over 40 megawatts of electricity. So we are connecting it directly, taking our online transmission line into the industrial park that is constructing, which is known as Muhammadu Buhari Industrial Park.
The objective of this project is to supply power to newly constructed industrial park, Muhammadu Buhari Industrial Park, which it needs stable power supply. And we are well able and capable to do that. And that is the aim of this project. And the project is 80% completion, just remaining connectivity. Once we connect, power supply will be in industry.
As industries spring up and the Muhammadu Buhari Industrial Park continues to gain more traction from prospective investors locally and internationally, an expert weighs in on its manifest and latent functions.
Looking at the industrial park, it will also be one industrial hub in the Northeast. I mean, there is nothing like it before and nothing like it now as far as the Northeast is concerned. There's no state in the whole of Northeast, and perhaps that you could see that has this massive industrial park like we have now.
With civil engineering works, water reticulation, and other new-fangled features in place, Gombe State expresses delight that it has ticked yet another important item on its bucket list by providing steady power supply to the Muhammadu Buhari Park proximal to raw materials, water, electricity, with the potential to create greater wealth and well-being for the greater number.
The Ekiti State University has held its 29th convocation ceremony. The President of the Senate, Senator Godswill Akpabio, who was one of the many dignitaries at the event, says the institution is one of the best universities in the country with 200 first-class graduates. He also commended the graduates for being focused on their studies and assured them of a better future.
Ekiti State University Auditorium is full to capacity with academic scholars, members of the university management and state governor, Biode Oyebanji, and graduates, opportune to be part of the 29th convocation ceremony of the institution. The National Assembly is well represented here, with President of the Senate, Godswill Akpabio, his deputy, Barao Jibrin, and other members of the National Assembly also on ground to witness the conferment of honorary doctorate degree on Senate leader Okpeyemi Bamidele.
Today, 465 people will be conferred with higher degrees. 162 PhD holders, 242 master's degree holders, and 61 postgraduate diploma. 200 first-class graduates of university will be given a prize of 500,000 naira only. And the National Universities Commission has graciously approved the commencement of Doctor of Pharmacy and Bachelor of Dentistry programs for the university.
Pro-Chancellor and Chairman of Council of the Ekiti State University, Professor Akin Oyebode, acknowledges eminent Nigerian leaders and the university management for the positive impact made in nurturing the institution.
I am happy to announce to you that Ekiti State University is currently ranked the best state university in Nigeria and the 12th best university nationwide. The Governing Council, under my leadership, will continue to work with the university management to raise the bar of excellence in the university.
Governor of Ekiti State commends the Senate leader for his contribution to the development of the state, particularly in the area of education, investment, and social development.
The leader of the Senate is no doubt a worthy son of Ekiti, who has distinguished himself not only in Ekiti, but across the globe. He has made significant contributions to the development of education and invested in youth development through different initiatives. Just recently, the bill for the establishment of a University of Technology and Environmental Studies in Ekiti, which is sponsored, was assented into law by the President.
Several notable Nigerians are honored with doctorate degrees, including the Senate leader, Okoyemi Bamidele, who's conferred with the honorary doctorate degree of law for his contributions to the institution and the global community.
This honor, I believe, will further deepen my covenants with my constituents and indeed Nigerians. So, regardless of baseless and needless attacks our critics are throwing at the National Assembly, we are undeterred because we are truly on a rescue mission. The essence of the mission aims at bringing our fatherland from the abyss of regression to the path of progression through the enactment of pro-people legislations and by cultivating strategic collaboration with other arms of government.
In his address, the President of the Senate, Godswill Akpabio, commends the university for its contribution in molding Nigeria's future leaders.
For the graduates today, I want to say congratulations to all of you. Your attitude in life determines your altitude. Make the best use of what you have learned here, and I can assure you that the future will be definitely bright.
A total of 456 students graduated with higher degrees. 162 students awarded the PhD, 242 awarded with master's degree, 61 others with postgraduate diplomas, just as 200 students graduated with first-class degrees.
The Sultan of Sokoto, Mohammed Saad Abubakar, has declared tomorrow, that's March the 30th, as equivalent to 1 day of Shawwal 1446 AH and Eid-el-Fitr across the country. The Sultan, with the President General of the Nigerian Supreme Council for Islamic Affairs, said the decision followed the reports of the National Moon Sighting Committees confirming the sighting of the new moon in several locations across the country. He felicitates with the Muslim faithful and wishes them Allah's guardians and blessings, appealing for the sustenance of the lessons learned during the holy month of Ramadan. He also asked them to continue to pray for the peace, progress, and development of the nation. Time to find out what's happening in the world of business. Laddie Williams has all those details.
Thanks, Belinda. Well, in business, President Bola Tinubu signed the Investment and Securities Bill into law to strengthen the legal and regulatory framework for investments and activities in the capital market. The new legislation, which marks a significant step in the country's capital market, repeals the 2007 Investment and Securities Act after its transmission for assent by the National Assembly on February 18th of this year. A statement by the Securities and Exchange Commission describes the presidential assent as a transformative step towards enhancing investor protection, improving market transparency, and fostering sustainable growth. The SEC noted that the new legislation reaffirms its authority as the apex regulator of Nigeria's capital markets and aligns local operators with global best practices. And for the first time, the combined wealth of African billionaires crossed the $100 billion mark. And this was driven largely by surging fortunes of most of the billionaires. According to Forbes' latest list of billionaires in 2025, the continent now boasts 22 billionaires with a combined net worth of $105 billion, up from $82.4 billion and $20 billion in the previous year. Top on the list in the ranking for Nigeria is Mr. Aliko Dangote, followed by Mr. Mike Adenuga, Mr. Abdul Samad Rabiu, and Mr. Femi Otedola. While Nigerian billionaires made headlines with their wealth increases, South Africa retained the highest number of entries on the list, with 7 billionaires, which include the country's richest man, John Rupert, Nicky Oppenheimer, and Patrice Motsepe. And Nigeria's foreign exchange reserves declined for the second consecutive week as they fell by $913 million week on week to $38.33 billion as of March the 27th. After 9 consecutive weeks of decline, Nigeria's foreign exchange reserves reported as its rebound there as it increased by $12.06 million to $38.36 billion as of March the 12th. Traders and analysts attribute this decrease in country's dollar reserves to intervention by the central bank as part of its efforts to stabilize the exchange rate. And still in foreign exchange matters, trading activities at the FMDQ exchange ended in red this week as total turnover of transactions carried out fell by $1.2 trillion at the close of this week. The amount represents a 14.21% week-on-week decrease against the more than $1.44 billion of value of transactions recorded last week. According to the FMDQ, the week-on-week decrease in total turnover was solely driven by the 15.36%, about $221 million decrease in FX spot transactions, which recorded a total value of $1.22 million. However, the increase in FX derivatives turnover was slowly driven by the $16.53 million increase in FX forwards turnover, while there was a continued lack of activity in both the exchange-traded FX futures and cleared naira-settled non-deliverable forwards markets. And the domestic equities market advanced by 0.66% this week after snapping a 4-week losing streak as renewed buy interest in banking stocks lifted the all-share index. This comes as investors reacted positively to the release of some banks' 2024 full-year audited financial statements and accompanying dividend announcements. At the same time, sectoral performance was mostly positive, except for the oil and gas sector, which fell by 1.65% this week due to the impact of sell pressure. The share prices of Mutual Benefits, Sunu Assurances, and Abbey Mortgages Bank were top on the list of 43 gainers, while Africa Prudential, Computer Warehouse Group, and John Holt led a pack of 33 losers. On the activity chart, investors traded more than 7.52 billion shares for nearly $400 billion. Well, the shares of Lafarge Sovereign Trust Insurance and Qtix were the top 3 most actively traded stocks this week. And that's it for me in business. It's back to Melinda with the rest of the news at 10.
Thanks, Ladi. The Islamic movement of Nigeria has condemned what it calls an unprovoked attack on its peaceful procession by the Nigerian army using live ammunition, which led to the death of 6 people, with many sustaining injuries and scores still missing. According to the group's spokesperson, Professor Abdullahi Danladi, who briefed journalists in Abuja about the incident, the Nigerian army and police forcefully blocked their procession, killed some of them, and arrested over 300 of its members. The group has demanded the unconditional release of all those arrested and an immediate prosecution of those responsible for the killing of their members.
The 2025 Abuja International Coast Day has started peacefully at Usman bin Affan Mosque along Aminu Kano Crescent, Wuse to Abuja. A few minutes into the commencement of the procession, a team of Nigerian armed, that's the Guard Brigade, attacked the court's program using live ammunition. Many sustained gunshots and life-threatening injuries, and some lost their lives as a result of the brutality. Apart from the killing unarmed protesters, the army committed numerous atrocities, such as men arresting women in the premises of the Usman bin Affan Mosque, beating women and children, and removing their hijabs within the outskirts of the mosque. These atrocities are taboo in Islam and Islamic culture. Similar to what we learned is happening in Israel and Palestine, when they attack Palestinians, they take away the dead bodies. We have been reliably informed that, and it's well known to the world, that they do harvest their organs. Right now, Israel is directly behind this attack that happened here in this city yesterday. So, and we have our dead bodies with them. We will therefore demand the release of our bodies and a thorough examination of their bodies to make sure that no organ has been harvested from any of our brothers.
World of Sports, Birichi Eze inspired Crystal Palace to a 3-0 FA Cup quarter-final win at Fulham with a goal and an assist in a 4-minute period in the first half. Fresh from scoring his first England goal against Latvia, Eze broke the deadlock with a stunning strike from outside the box. He then turned provider for Ismail Sarr to rapidly double Palace's lead, and Eddie Keita added more gloss to the scoreline as the second half substitute. Nottingham Forest reached the FA Cup semi-finals for the first time in 34 years as Belgian keeper Marcel starred in a 4-3 penalty shootout win over Brighton. After the quarter-final clash at the Amex Stadium finished goalless following extra time, Sels took centre stage to send Forest to Wembley. The Belgian goalkeeper saved spot kicks from 2 players, and although Forest's Nico Williams blazed over, Ryan Cates held his nerves to stroke home the winner. Lagos State have won the 2025 Southwest Games. The champions emerged with 14 gold, 5 silver, and 2 bronze medals. The Lagos team capped their performance at the Games with a thrilling 5-2 victory over Ekiti State in the men's football event on the final day at the Mobolaji Johnson Arena in Unikon. They are followed closely by Ogun State in the second spot with 10 gold, while Ondo State are in third with 3 gold medals.
When you have regional games like this, it prepares your athletes. National games might not give you the kind of depth you want to get in competitions like this. When you have regional games, it helps you discover talent from the nook and cranny of your region. And to a large extent, you know that if you are able to develop organically to our region, it will go a long way in contributing to the national body, the national sports body. We have the National Sports Commission.
On the international scene, at least 1,000 people have been killed and more than 2,000 injured after a 7.7 magnitude earthquake struck Mandalay in Myanmar and was also felt in neighboring countries. The quake triggered the collapse of buildings hundreds of miles away in Bangkok, Thailand, and some 1,000 kilometers from the epicenter. Authorities say at least 15 people are believed to be trapped under the rubble of a collapsed 33-story building with more than 100 people still unaccounted for. Myanmar's giant neighbors, China and India, are amongst the first to send teams to help with response. The powerful quake has left millions of people facing hours of power shortages. The corporation, which oversees the distribution to the most populous city, that's Yangon Electricity Supply Corporation, has announced that residents will only get 4 hours of power each day. This is due to the damage to infrastructure as the electricity distribution company is trying to generate and distribute power from gas turbines. Let's take you back to one of our leading stories and hear from the wife of the former head of service of Rivers State, who talked about her husband giving that speech under duress. Let's take a listen to that.
This 15 billion they're talking about, they said Abuja gave them every information they need. That my husband is trying to cover Sim Fubara. He said that to cover the governor. That they have heard that it's his friend. They heard that it's his friend, though. That he's just trying to cover up. My husband says it's not like covering up anything. That he doesn't think that there's anything like that. There's anything like 15 billion naira. That he's not aware. That he's not aware. That he's just the head of service. He doesn't know anything about finance of the state. So when they pressured him to sign that document, he said he will not sign. That instead of him to sign, he will resign. He just resigned and come in the office. I was in the office when he called me that he has resigned. I said, what happened? He said, till I come back. When I came back, I asked him. He started telling me that they brought a document, but that the document is that they found another $15 billion that the government did not declare. And he told that he doesn't know anything about that one. That what he handed over to them is what the governor handed over to him.
And the main news again. President Bola Tinubu has held bilateral discussions with the Prime Minister of St. Kitts and Nevis, Terrace Michael Drew, who paid him a courtesy visit. That's the news at 10 tonight. I'm Melinda Kinlami. On behalf of the team, good night.